Morning light struggled to penetrate the thick smoke hanging over the small town of Gapini, mingling with the scent of gunpowder that lingered from battles fought and lives lost. Inside the wooden barracks, rows of female prisoners of war sat quietly, their faces pale and hollow, eyes reflecting exhaustion, fear, and the faint glimmer of hope. The distant echo of artillery shells reminded them that the war raged on relentlessly. And yet inside, an unusual quiet held the room captive. Weeks of imprisonment had tested the women's endurance in ways unimaginable. Hunger gnawed at their bones. Cold cut through thin uniforms, and every day brought the uncertainty of survival. Yet, amidst the fear, they had found ways to hold on to their humanity. Small acts of solidarity, whispered songs, and memories of home provided fragile threads of comfort. Lena, a young nurse, had witnessed more death than life and had learned to keep grief tucked away, allowing her to care for others despite her own fear. Marika, a former had kept hope alive with secret lessons and quiet melodies that reminded them of a world beyond the barracks. Anya, barely 18, had clung to recollections of her family, repeating faces and voices in her mind as a shield against despair. These women, strangers turned comrades, had forged unbreakable bonds, invisible threads that kept them tethered to life, even in the darkest hours. One morning, the unexpected happened. The commanders entered the barracks, their boots heavy against the wooden floor. Yet, their expressions carried calm rather than command. There was no shouting, no barked orders, only an eerie stillness that made the women sit straighter, senses heightened with caution. One of the officers stepped forward, his voice soft but clear. "You are free to go." Confusion rippled through the room. Whispers filled the air. Freedom, a concept almost alien after weeks of confinement, was suddenly within reach. Some hearts leaped with joy, imagining a return to home, to safety, to normal life. Yet others felt a tug in their chests, a reluctance that was difficult to name. The women had survived together. They had become family in captivity. To leave was to abandon bonds formed in fire and fear, to walk into an outside world they no longer recognized. Lena's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of her cot. "Should we?" she whispered. Marika shook her head firmly, though her eyes were filled with a mix of fear and determination. "We've survived together. We cannot leave, not now, not like this." Anya clutched her small satchel, her mind torn between the promise of freedom and the comfort of the sisterhood she had found among strangers. Hours passed, silence stretching in every direction, until Lena's voice broke the stillness, trembling but resolute. We want to stay." Slowly, one by one, the other women echoed her sentiment, their voices building from whispers to a chorus of determination and loyalty. Commanders exchanged looks of disbelief. They had expected frantic pleas for release, tears of relief, or silent obedience. Instead, they witnessed gratitude expressed through the choice to remain together. And so, the women stayed, defying expectation, asserting their autonomy, and claiming a form of courage that no battlefield could measure. Life in the barracks did not become easier, but it became their own. They organized daily chores with precision, shared meager resources, and cared for each other in ways that transcended the brutal context surrounding them. They found laughter in small moments, and solace in communal rituals, a quiet song, a whispered joke, a shared memory. The commanders, initially distant observers, gradually began to respect the resilience and humanity of the women. Conversations, once awkward and tentative, developed into mutual recognition of courage, solidarity, and the capacity to endure. Lena kept a diary in which she recorded their experiences. Freedom was offered, but our choice was solidarity. In staying together, we discovered strength beyond survival. A resilience the war cannot break. Marika, too, reflected on the paradox. To choose captivity over freedom is strange. Yet, here among friends, we are alive in ways the outside world cannot understand. War may take bodies, but it cannot take the bonds we forge, nor the determination to protect one another at any cost. Anya, the youngest, often sat quietly by the window at dusk, gazing at the horizon, Her lips curved in a faint smile. "Perhaps staying was the bravest choice of all," she murmured, a quiet truth resonating through the barracks with each passing day. Months passed, and the women continued to endure the hardships of war with dignity. Scarcity of food, the constant threat of violence, and the uncertainty of what lay beyond the gates of the barracks did not break them. Instead, it forged a resilience deeper than the steel of weapons or walls. They learned to celebrate small victories, a warm meal shared, a letter received, a moment of quiet laughter, a day without death touching their lives directly. Every act of compassion, every display of loyalty was a quiet rebellion against the dehumanizing forces of war. Visitors and occasional allies were struck by the unusual calm and unwavering spirit within the barracks. They had seen countless prisoners broken by fear. Yet here was something different, an unyielding human spirit that could not be extinguished. The commanders, too, were transformed. They had expected obedience, or at most, silent gratitude. Instead, they found themselves witnessing a form of heroism that no medal could honor, expressed through choice, loyalty, and courage, rather than battle. The war raged outside, yet within the barracks, the measure of time shifted from violence to resilience, from chaos to solidarity. Sunrises were triumphs. Shared meals became celebrations. Acts of care, whispers of hope, and moments of human connection created a sanctuary in the heart of destruction. The women, though prisoners in circumstance, claimed mastery over their spirits in ways the war could not touch. Their courage became evident, not through combat, but through enduring dignity, the choice to protect each other, and the quiet assertion of agency. As the war eventually drew to a close, the women of Gapenia emerged not as victims but as survivors, bonded by shared experience and profound courage. Lena, Marika, Anya, and the others carried memories of fear, endurance, and loyalty, proving that freedom is defined not merely by circumstances, but by the choices we make in its presence. The commanders departed, with respect and a newfound understanding of courage, leaving behind women who had claimed dignity and solidarity in a world intent on stripping it away. The barracks, once a prison, had become a sanctuary of human resilience, a testament to the enduring power of loyalty, hope, and compassion. History often forgets small acts of bravery, quiet choices made without weapons, medals, or recognition. Yet the courage of these women remains a reminder that survival, solidarity, and humanity can endure even in the most brutal circumstances. Even after the war ended, their story echoed quietly in history, a narrative of compassion, courage, and resilience. They had been offered freedom, yet chose to stay, shaping a legacy that no battle, empire, or conflict could erase. In the silent barracks of Gapenia, the laughter, determination, and strength of these women stood as a monument to human endurance. Life persisted, hope endured, and the bonds formed in adversity became immortal in their memory. The POS, who chose to stay, embodied the extraordinary power of choice, proving that sometimes courage is not found on the battlefield, but in the heart's refusal to surrender. Every sunrise witnessed, every shared meal, every act of care within the barracks became an affirmation that humanity can thrive even amidst war. And in choosing each other over mere freedom, the women of Gapenia wrote a story of heroism unlike any other, one defined not by victory or defeat, but by love, loyalty, and unbroken spirit.